All right, everyone. So trial and error is done, I think. Um, this is the first kind of revamped version of what I did 3 or 4 years ago. I was doing Behind the Beat series on YouTube called Daily Creation. So if you've been following the channel for that long, you probably remember that series. It was more just me taking my Sony camera and just filming random little bits or just doing it on my phone. I wanted to kind of bring it into more of the modern age, doing these screen recordings, kind of just being able to show you guys everything in the session instead of just me pointing a phone at the computer. And I know a lot of producers might not be like cool with that, or they might not be super into showing everybody all the little ins and outs of what they did. I'm going to keep it 100% honest with you. What I do as a producer is probably some of the most basic shit you could ever think of. Not a lot of effects, not a lot of things going on, not even that many sounds in the beat. I mean, if you've heard me breaking down any of my beats in the past, it's usually like 4 to 5 sounds per beat, not trying to overdo it too much. Um, and so I kind of just wanted to give people an inside look at what I do in these sessions, and definitely show other producers too that, there is a lot of people that do a lot of the fancy stuff. They have all these fancy plugins, things like that. I would never consider myself one of those people. I've always tried to do the most with the smallest amount that I have. So it's kind of also to show, if you are a producer out there too, or you want to get into producing, that if anyone ever tells you you need all these different plugins and all these things to make great music or just to make anything, it's pretty much bullshit. I mean, you can do it for sure, and I encourage anyone to do whatever they want as far as making music, figuring things out. But when I'm doing these, you're just gonna see very basic stuff to make these songs, and my whole thing is kind of just let the artists take it where they're gonna take it, give them room to do their thing as well. Um, so I think that's what I'm looking to accomplish with this kind of revamped version of the series. But it's also going to still be highlighting these songs that I've been a part of. And so today, to pretty much kick off this new version of the series, I wanted to do this song from the Proven Knowledge album that we just released at the beginning of October, which is called Forms of Escapism. And one of those songs that I was a part of, I did 10 of the 17 songs on there. Obviously, we had 13 other people, I believe, on there, different producers, different artists, all people that myself and my artist Jay Trey have connected with, collaborated with over the years. So I want to once again say thank you first off to all of those people. But the song that I chose to highlight today was one of the older beats that I had done. It ended up being the song called Really Love You, featuring Tay, who is a singer songwriter. And I believe she also produces a little bit as well. I think she's from the Vancouver area in Canada. We connected a couple years ago. She was on J Trey's last project, Basilia 2. We also had another song on here called Faith, which she did background vocals for. I was originally going to do the beat breakdown for Faith, but I didn't realize I didn't bring the session over to this laptop. This whole year has just been transferring files from the old laptop to this new laptop. Very grateful to have this new Lenovo, by the way. It's allowing me to be able to do this updated version of this video. Could have never done this on the old laptop. So this thing's a workhorse. Definitely love it so far. But I ended up choosing Really Love You, and I'll give you a quick backstory on the song before I get into the beat. Essentially, I had collabed with this pianist named Zach Wilson. Always forget where he's from. Sorry, Zach. Not the quarterback, by the way. Probably thinking the Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson. Spelled the exact same way. Not the same Zach Wilson, but he does actually get emails apparently people think he's the Jets quarterback. He's not the Jets quarterback, but he is a very talented pianist. And I don't know how I found him initially. Probably just on Instagram. Like I found a lot of people. Probably saw some of his videos doing covers because he was doing a lot of covers in like 2018, 19. Don't know how many he does now. But I remember reaching out to him and I had a lot of beats that I felt like were kind of missing some elements, and I wanted to, spice them up a bit, get some instrumentation going. And he was one of the people that reached back out to me and said, just send over your tracks. I'll see what I can do. And I pretty much just told him to freestyle whatever he wanted over the beats. I was like, man, I'm not really a instrumentalist myself. I don't really know keys a ton. I don't really know things like that. So just play it by ear. I trust your judgment. Do your thing. And he ended up sending back, I think, 3 or 4 different tracks that he played over. One of those tracks came out in 2021. It was a song called Bad Guy Riot. It was a 2-part song on J Trey's album called Epitome of Chaos. I think it was the outro. I always forget. But on the Riot half, which is the second half, I remember I slowed it down and I put the parts that he did in the second half. So that was like the first song that actually came out. This particular beat right here, I believe I restructured this even after he did his solo on this song. I kind of stripped it down a little bit more, kept trying to send it to people. I wasn't getting any takers. I knew I wanted a singer on this though. I knew it felt more melodic, emotional. I couldn't, picture a rapper on it. Like it does have some percussion elements that are more hip hop and it is a bit more up tempo, but the melodies are definitely more for a singer. But the thing I was having trouble with was I think when I didn't chop up his piano parts into pieces and I wasn't taking certain pieces. I kept the whole thing. And some of the singers that I was talking to, they were like, yeah, I love this, but I can't really find like the pocket to get in there because, the piano is kind of just doing its own thing. It's more just on its own. So I was like, I honestly considered even just putting this out as an instrumental, which it still probably could live on its own as, a solo instrumental, which would be kind of cool. But, I remember I was talking to Tay already. We had just worked on, like I said, the Basilia 2 project. I was sending her more ideas. And I was kind of just ready to not really give up on this song, but like I said, just not really pursue it any further. But I said, for the hell of it, I was like, let me just send it to her, see what she has to say about it. Why not? Um, and she not only said she loved it, but she pretty much wrote it within like a day or two and recorded it very quickly and sent it back. And I was like, wow, like it really just was just about, finding the right person to be on the song. And I think that just goes to show like you got to keep pursuing the songs that you feel good about or you believe in and know that everything has like its own timing too. And that was definitely the case for this song. So I'm just gonna break down because I still have her vocal takes in here as well. Probably not gonna go into those, but I will kind of just do the parts that I made, and then I'll get into Zach's part as well. The main real element that I started with, which is kind of what I start every beat with, is like the lead. For this, I think I had some they're probably like synth pads or some combination of strings combined together. And I think I just dumped them into the sampler called Slice X, which is the one I use a lot. I use that more than Edison. Edison's the popular one in FL Studio. I don't really use Edison. I use Slice X a ton just because I was taught that from the beginning, and it's always been the one that I go to. So I'll show you kind of what I came up with. It's very simple and it just repeats pretty much throughout the course of the track. So here it is. So I mean that's pretty much the main part right there that keeps just repeating. I think a big issue I had with it is that I didn't want it to drown out everything else and the keys. The mix of this was kind of tricky because that whole part just takes up a lot of frequencies. So trying to EQ it the right way was interesting. I think the final mix did come out pretty good, but I was like, I don't really know. I think that's another reason why it had a lot of issues, but I'm glad that it came out the way it did. So really, the next thing on top of that, which I'll just put in here, is these percussion elements. So here's a couple right here. These are two hats that I kind of just put together, combined to make into one part. So you got your main hi-hat, just with a little bit of delay on it. Then you got your open hat. Both are very subtle. Both are kind of tucked in the background. And then once it hits like the main middle of the song, you get your main hi-hats right here. And with all three combined. So you kind of just let the hats do their own thing. They kind of just drive the main tempo of the song usually. That's kind of just what I tend to do with them. I like to add delays here and there, just kind of give it different effects. Here's your kick that you got, which pretty much goes throughout the full song. It's kind of a punchy kick. I don't remember where I got this one from, but nothing out of the ordinary there. This perk element, which is kind of, like I said, just like that other hat, it's kind of driving the majority of the middle of the song. Here's that. Again, added a lot of reverb, a lot of delay on there. Maybe a little too much reverb, but it still complemented the rest of the song. And then we had these snares right here. The most basic snare you could ever have. The only thing I did with these was I panned one or two of them during the pattern. You can hear one or two of them are panned left and right at a certain point. So just trying to come up with a different variation, make it a little different. Just try to throw some spice in there. So this is kind of what all the percussion would sound like together. You just see things cutting in and out. Each part has its own place to play in. And there was no bass line in this because, like I said, this mix was pretty crowded just from that lead alone. And I knew adding keys, it was like I wasn't going to be able to even fit a bass line in there. What just wasn't going to work. And some songs don't need a bass line. You know, if you can kind of figure out the frequencies within the track and make everything work and stand out and make it sound full, but not too full. I think that's kind of the goal. So here is pretty much everything that I did without the keys, and then I'll get into Zach's part next. But here's what everything together sounded like. So that was pretty much what I did. Again, I think I had a couple versions of that beat for a little bit. Like I might have even had different things in there that I cut out or changed a little bit. But for the most part, that's the original idea and what I sent him. And then from there, he pretty much just went strictly by ear, because like I said, I didn't have the key for this song. I just told him, I was like, just freestyle, just do your own thing, um, kind of go from there. And he ended up coming back and adding in such a beautiful arrangement onto this. So I'll play from the beginning, just about to the halfway point. Not going to play the entire thing, but it goes, as you can see just from this, it goes for the majority of the song. Like the intro bit goes, and then once it kicks in, it just carries it all the way till the end. So here's just what it sounds like by itself, because it's immaculate. Let's just put it that way. Like you could see how that just by itself could just, it could be its own thing. You know what I mean? Because I remember when he sent it back, I was just like, man, this is too good, like too next level. And I think that's a good example of, if you're able to collaborate with people that can do things that you can't, like definitely do that. Instrumentalists, if you want to get people involved just to make the music like so much better, um I definitely encourage people to do that, because I think even if I knew how to play piano and knew how to do it well, I don't think I could do it that well. You know what I mean? Like he's just a master of his craft. You know what I mean? And to be able to have him on this song and the other songs we did, it was just super awesome. Um, like I said, that on its own could live as like its own song. He does a lot of solo work too, which I think is cool. Um, and like I said, I've even thought about doing a different version of this song, kind of like a more stripped down version. Um, but as far as, what ended up happening on the final record, I will now play pretty much what everything together kind of sounds like and how it all came together in the end. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything stacked together in the main portion of the song. You can obviously see how at the end we cut it down just to the keys. I like to have songs where things kind of drop out one by one until there's only one element left, which I definitely wanted to do with this song, because I wanted to highlight those keys as much as possible, because they really are the driving force of the track. Um, Overall, I'm just happy with the fact that it's finally able to release this song, put this song out. Thank you to Tay for the amazing work vocally that she did on this thing, and even coming up with that concept for it. Again, I think it's just important to keep in mind that you never want to just give up on a song or just like scrap it. As long as the idea is alive, there's always potential for it to become something. So I'm really happy that, this song became something that I think is going to be around for a long time. It's one of the most popular songs on the project, and people are really taking a liking to it. So, um, yeah, thanks to Zach for working with me. Hopefully, me and him can keep working together. Tay, and definitely everybody else that was a part of the Proven Knowledge album. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty good breakdown for Really Love You. Just a heads up too, I'm gonna be doing these videos as pretty free form. I'm not even gonna edit any of this stuff. I'm literally just gonna throw it on YouTube, raw, unedited. Like this is pretty much what you're gonna get for the majority of the time. So, if it seems like I'm rambling at any point, I'll try not to do that too much. But definitely expect these videos. I'm going to try to do once a month and just see how it goes. Um, and I'll be able to kind of chop these up too and make some short form content out of this stuff for social media. But I also do want to say, everybody that has been subscribing to the channel this year, whether you found a beat that I posted, type beat, or you saw a short that I posted, or you came from Instagram, or you came from the podcast, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy um, the content and the music. I'm just going to keep trying to be consistent with it and, just try to provide as much as I can to artists, mostly independent artists, but just artists in general, anybody that sees the vision too. So, I'd be wrong to not say thank you to you guys and to everybody else that will be joining in the future. Yeah, be on the lookout for more of these videos. But for now, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I will definitely see you next time.